Yeah, so let's do Bitcoin because now we're getting ever closer to the halvening, which when we first started talking about this, the halvening was supposed to happen really by the end of May. Like I had
Right.
dates that were as far out as May 31st, May 30th, like end of May. And I've now seen a halvening clock estimate that is now as far up as May 3rd. So like, in other words, like we've been talking about this, the miners are sort of seeing that the reward for solving the puzzle for Bitcoin, which generates the reward with that being halved, they are starting to accelerate how much mining they're doing.
Right. Yeah. And, Bitcoin is also being hoarded as we speak. Yesterday, I tweeted out a link. If you didn't see that, it was talking about how the number of addresses with more than 1,000 Bitcoins at a 2-year high. And it's doing exactly what it did before the last halving and before the price of Bitcoin went from like $200 to $20,000. So the supply is not only going to be reduced by the halving, which cuts the rewards for mining in half. So people only get 6.25 Bitcoin instead of 12.5 every single time they mine a block. But it's also the supply is going down because people are hoarding it. I mean, I think it was 1,800 addresses with over 1,000 Bitcoin each. People are absolutely hoarding Bitcoin right now, driving the supply down. Grayscale, which is this really, really big Bitcoin investment company that has a lot of funds in crypto, actually, but they reported that they have had record demand for their products too. So they now have, I think it was over like 1.8% of all Bitcoin, I think, is now owned by Grayscale. So they're one of these huge, Bitcoin holders called whales that are just really just coming in full force right now, driving down the supply of Bitcoin, which is going to push the price way up going forward.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I saw that Grayscale announcement. So they took in across crypto. So they are the world's largest digital asset manager, digital assets, and they took in $503 million in the first quarter
Right.
for crypto. And I believe of that, 388 million went into their Bitcoin trust.
Yep.
And so it tells me one thing, Ian, which is that from looking at what usually happens in halvenings, which is that the miners start to ramp up their mining, and then most miners run a pretty low margin operation, so they need to sell their Bitcoin pretty much as soon as they mine it. And there's obviously been a ready market for it. I mean, if 388 million has been sucked in by
Yeah.
Grayscale alone, and
Right.
then you think of like, even like what this crisis has done to countries around the world where a number of currencies, which happens into any period of tightness, will have collapsed, and where people will be like, well, I prefer to be in Bitcoin over any national, paper fiat currency.
Yeah. And the other 115 million that Bitcoin or that Grayscale brought in for their other cryptos was like a huge, destroyed the old record for non-Bitcoin cryptos or altcoins. So, this gives us a sense that there's huge demand for these other smaller cryptocurrencies as well. And that's going to give us like way, way more opportunities to invest going forward in crypto.
Well, I mean, so I mean, it's coming pretty close. I mean, we're theoretically, if the earliest halvening clock is right, May 3rd,
Yeah.
that's like just 16 days away, approximately, something like that. Even if it's mid-May, we're about a month away.
Yeah.
The one thing is that everyone will believe that Bitcoin can crash whatever from 10 to 3,800 like it did in March, or something in that range. Now, no one can believe that it can jump up. And I said the same things about various stocks to folks in Profits Unlimited in my updates. Like, everyone is willing to believe that a stock can drop, but no one really can believe that something can jump. And I believe the same is going to be true for Bitcoin, which is like when it jumps, people say, oh, I should have bought in. I should have
Yeah.
bought in.
Yeah, and that leads to the whole demand at higher prices thing, which is a major force in Bitcoin. Nobody wants to buy it at 5,000, but when it gets up to 20,000, everybody's going to be buying, and that's going to drive up the price even faster. So it's going to be like an exponential increase once it really starts to get going.
Right, and that's like, and into that there's less supply on an organic level in terms of mining, and there's less supply in terms of a market perspective, in the sense that people that are holding it are not planning to sell, because they're like, well, why would I sell? Like, I know it's going much higher, so I'm going to keep it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's a completely amazing scenario right now for Bitcoin to buy in.